If you read the Quran, you will encounter stories that you won't understand. But the people in Muhammad's times knew these stories. Where did Muhammad get these stories from, and how did he process them in the Quran? Many stories in the Quran bear resemblance to legends that existed before the Quran. Such things cannot be found in the Bible. Did Muhammad hear those stories and use them for the Quran? Some Muslims like to cite the Islamic scholar Rudi Pagir. We have no reason to assume that there is one single verse in the Quran that doesn't originate from Muhammad. But what does Rudi Pagir mean by this? It doesn't say here that Allah inspired Muhammad, but only that the entire Quran comes from Muhammad. Who then inspired Muhammad? Let's read another book from Rudi Pagir for this purpose, his Quran commentary. For the Quran's verses, he wrote comments in his commentary. And we have several examples here that we will read. First, here's the Quran text. Chapter 5, meaning Surah 5 of the Quran. It's about the sons of Adam, Cain and Abel, and about the sacrifices they bring before God. Abel offers a sacrifice to God, and it was accepted. Cain's sacrifice is not. Because of that, Cain wants to strike his brother dead. And now I read Surah 5 verse 31 from the Quran, because this little additional story we don't find in the Bible. Thereupon Allah sent a raven that began to scratch the earth, to show Cain how he might cover the corpse of his brother. So seeing this, he cried, "Woe unto me! Was I unable even to be like this raven, and find a way to cover the corpse of my brother?" And he became full of remorse and anger at his doing. It is now about the question what Cain was supposed to do with the dead body of his brother, as he had never seen a burial before. Allah sent a raven that showed him how to bury a dead body. Regarding this, in his book, Rudi Pagir cites from a Jewish legend. I am reading from the Midrash, a Jewish text that is not contained within the Bible. When Cain had struck Abel dead, Abel was laying there without Cain knowing what to do. So God designated 2 pure birds for him, of which one killed the other. And the surviving one dug up the soil and buried the killed one. And Cain learned from it and dug up the soil and buried Abel. Interesting, isn't it? In this Jewish legend, Cain doesn't know what to do with his brother's corpse. However, God sends 2 pure birds from which he learned how to bury someone. By the way, this Jewish legend already existed many centuries before Muhammad, and you can easily find it in the internet. So Muhammad knew the Jewish legend of Cain and Abel. He evidently recites it here, even if slightly changed. Let's continue reading in the Quran commentary. Muhammad did not only use a Jewish legend, but legends that Christians told each other can also be found in the Quran. For example, we find the story of the 7 sleepers in the Quran. According to the Quran, those youths retreated to the cave and said, "Our Lord, grant us from yourself mercy." Those men were looking for refuge with God. He then let the men sleep in the cave for many years. So we cast a cover of sleep over their ears within the cave for a number of years. After they had slept for many years, God woke them up again, and they were supposed to calculate for how long they had been sleeping in the cave. Then we awakened them, that we might show which of the 2 factions was most precise in calculating what extent they had remained in time. In the end, the Quran says that they slept in the cave for hundreds of years. It was exactly 309 years before they woke up again. And they remained in their cave for 300 years and exceeded by 9. I now cite again from Rudi Pagir's commentary. Verse 9 till verse 26 refer to the story of the 7 sleepers, a Christian legend, according to which 7 believing men escaped the persecution of Christians under the reign of the Emperor Decius by hiding in a cave and falling into a deep sleep. Overall, the legend's content is clearly visible within the Quranic reproduction. Please Google for yourself the legend of the 7 sleepers of Ephesus. Centuries before Muhammad, this story was already widely spread. The Christians in times of Muhammad knew these stories. Theories existed about how many years the men slept in the cave. Were they 7 or 8? Were they alone, or was a dog with them? Muhammad took part in this speculating. He spread this and many other stories to the people of his time in order to convert them to Islam. These sermons of Muhammad are called Quran nowadays. Here comes one last example. This time a pagan legend in the Quran in Surah 18, the story of Alexander the Great. But before that, you have to watch the next part.